Ever get that feeling like you're just drowning in information? You know, like you listen to podcasts, you devour articles, maybe even squeeze in a book or two, but then poof, it's all gone.
Yeah.
Like our brains are stuck on this information treadmill running and running, but not really getting anywhere.
For sure.
So today we're going to dive into how to break free from that cycle and actually make learning stick and stick fast.
I like it.
Our source material this time is a piece titled, How to Learn Anything 10x Faster Than Anyone with AI.
Okay.
Bold claim, right?
Yeah, that's ambitious.
To help us navigate this sea of knowledge, though, I've got our resident expert on deck.
Always happy to be here.
They are a master at untangling complex ideas and making them not just understandable, but genuinely useful
That's the goal.
in your everyday life. So welcome back.
It's a pleasure to be here. And you're right, that title, it definitely grabs your attention. But honestly, who wouldn't want to learn faster?
Right.
The real question is, how do we learn in a way that actually leads to lasting knowledge and tangible results?
Yeah. All right. So let's unpack this 10x faster learning idea.
Okay.
The source pulls no punches,
Right.
calling out a lot of what we do as mental masturbation.
Right.
Basically, we're chasing those fleeting dopamine hits from feeling like we're learning without any real substance.
Interesting.
Does that resonate with you at all?
Absolutely. It definitely strikes a chord.
Yeah.
I think we've all fallen into that trap,
Yeah.
spending hours consuming content and feeling like we're on top of the world. But then the next day, it's like nothing's stuck.
Right.
It's frustrating, right? We crave that sense of progress and mastery, but traditional learning methods, they often fall short.
Totally. And that's where the source's big idea comes in.
Okay.
Project-based learning.
Mm.
It's all about ditching the passive consumption and diving headfirst into building something real.
I like it.
Instead of just reading about coding, you actually build a website.
Okay.
Instead of just watching Photoshop tutorials, you create an image.
Yeah.
What makes this approach so effective in your view?
Well, one key factor is that project-based learning taps into a deeper level of engagement.
Okay.
When you have a project, you have a purpose.
Yeah.
You're not just memorizing facts in isolation. You're applying knowledge to solve real-world problems, which makes the learning process so much more relevant and motivating.
It's like the difference between reading about how to bake a cake versus actually getting your hands dirty and doing it.
Exactly. And as you work on your project, you inevitably encounter challenges.
Yeah.
Those roadblocks, they're actually golden opportunities for learning.
Right.
Because they force you to actively seek out solutions and deepen your understanding.
Yeah.
It's not just theoretical anymore. It's directly tied to your goal.
I love how the source talks about this idea of optimizing pattern recognition.
Okay.
Having a project in mind primes your brain to notice and absorb relevant information, almost like it's working on the problem in the background.
Interesting.
What's going on there?
It's fascinating how our brains are wired for problem solving.
Yeah.
When we're actively engaged in a project, our subconscious minds are constantly seeking patterns and making connections, even when we're not consciously aware of it.
Yeah.
Think about those aha moments you have in the shower or while taking a walk.
Right.
Those are often the result of your subconscious mind working through a problem.
That reminds me of the story about Charles Darwin.
Oh, yeah.
He'd spend hours working on his research, then take long walks to clear his head.
Yeah.
And it was during those walks when his mind was relaxed and wandering that he often had his biggest breakthroughs.
It's like our brains need that space and time to process information and make those connections.
Yeah.
So having a project sets this process in motion. Even when we're not actively focused on it,
Right.
you're essentially priming your brain to seek out and absorb the information that's most relevant to your goals.
So it's not just about learning faster.
Right.
It's about learning smarter.
Yeah,
You're training your brain to filter through the noise and focus on what truly matters.
I like.
Now, I know we've talked a lot about project-based learning,
Yeah.
but the source doesn't shy away from the AI piece of the puzzle either. Let's dive into how AI can be used as a learning accelerator, not just a shiny new toy.
Yeah.
How do you see that working?
One of the most powerful ways AI can enhance project-based learning is by providing just-in-time information. Remember those roadblocks we talked about?
Yeah.
Instead of spending hours searching for answers in a sea of Google results,
Right.
AI can help you find the precise information you need exactly when you need it.
Wow.
It's like having a suit-powered research assistant at your fingertips.
That sounds incredibly efficient, but doesn't this raise concerns about becoming too reliant on AI?
Yeah,
Where does human ingenuity fit in?
that's an important question, and the source addresses it head-on with a quote from the founder of NVIDIA,
Okay.
Machines aren't going to replace people. People using machines are going to replace people.
That's quite a statement.
It is.
It suggests that the real advantage comes from harnessing the power of AI to amplify our own capabilities, not to replace them entirely.
Precisely. The key is to view AI as a tool that can help us learn faster, more effectively, and ultimately achieve our goals. It's not about replacing human creativity and problem-solving skills, but rather about augmenting them.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where human ingenuity and AI capabilities work in tandem.
Yeah, I like that.
We bring the creativity and critical thinking,
Right.
and AI helps us streamline the process and overcome those pesky roadblocks.
Exactly.
Speaking of roadblocks, let's talk about a universal one.
Oh.
Procrastination.
Yeah.
This source tackles it head-on with something called the Zygarnik Effect.
Okay.
Now, before our listener starts thinking this is some complex psychological theory,
Right.
can you break it down in a way that makes sense for, well, anyone?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
the Zygarnik Effect plays on a simple human quirk.
Okay.
We tend to remember unfinished tasks more vividly than completed ones. Think about that nagging feeling you get when you leave a chore half done.
Oh, yeah.
That's the Zeigarnik Effect in action.
Oh.
So the source suggests leveraging this tendency to our advantage by starting with ridiculously easy tasks related to our project.
So something so simple you can't possibly talk yourself out of it.
Exactly.
Right.
It could be something as basic as opening the software you'll be using,
Right.
jotting down a few ideas, or even just gathering the materials you need. The point is to get the ball rolling and create a sense of momentum.
Yeah.
It's about tricking your brain into engaging with the task. And once you've started, it's much easier to keep going.
That's actually brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like using our own psychology to hack our way out of procrastination.
That's the idea.
So we've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
Ditching passive learning for project-based learning, embracing AI as a learning partner, and even outsmarting procrastination.
I'm exhausted already.
But there's another powerful element the source highlights that I want to make sure we explore before we move on. The power of writing and even teaching to solidify learning. It's not just about taking in information, it's about actively engaging with it and making it our own.
I like that.
Why is that so important?
The source argues that sharing what you're learning through writing can dramatically increase your understanding.
Okay.
It's one thing to consume information, but it's a whole other level to try and explain it to someone else.
Right. It forces you to organize your thoughts and really make sure you understand the concepts.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just have a vague idea.
Right.
You have to be able to articulate it clearly.
Precisely when you write, you're essentially teaching yourself.
Yeah.
You're forced to identify any gaps in your knowledge and refine your explanations until they make sense not just to you,
Right.
but to someone who might be learning about the topic for the first time.
This reminds me of the Feynman technique.
Yeah.
Where you try to explain a complex concept as if you were teaching it to a child.
Right.
It's all about simplifying and clarifying until you truly understand the core principles.
There's also something called the protege effect,
Okay.
which suggests that the act of teaching itself deepens our own learning. It's like we take on more responsibility for the material when we know we're going to be sharing it with others.
So it's a win-win.
It is.
Not only do you solidify your own understanding,
Right.
but you potentially help others learn along the way. It's like creating a ripple effect of knowledge.
I like that a lot.
Okay, we've laid out some really powerful concepts here.
We have.
Project-based learning AI as a learning partner, the Zygarnik Effect for tackling procrastination, and the incredible benefits of writing and teaching to solidify our knowledge.
So much to think about.
I feel like we've given our listeners a lot to digest. So let's take a short break and come back to delve even deeper into how to apply these concepts in practical ways.
Sounds good.
We'll be back soon with part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll explore how to create a personalized learning system and navigate the challenges of finding time for learning in our busy lives. So stay tuned.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back to our deep dive into accelerating your learning. I hope you've had a chance to let those ideas about project-based learning and AI tools simmer for a bit.
Yeah, it's always fascinating to see how those concepts, they spark different ideas for everyone.
Absolutely. And today we're going to build on that foundation and explore some more nuanced aspects of this learning journey.
Sounds good.
So where should we start?
I think a good place to start is by revisiting this idea of project-based learning itself. We've established that it's a powerful approach,
Right.
but how do you choose the right project? It can't just be any random idea that pops into your head, right?
That's a great point. I mean, it makes sense that the project itself plays a huge role in whether or not this whole thing works.
Exactly. Choosing a project that truly aligns with your goals and interests is crucial. It needs to be something that excites you, something that you're genuinely passionate about, because that's what's going to fuel your motivation over the long haul.
So it's about more than just picking something that sounds cool or trendy. It needs to have a deeper connection to what you actually want to achieve.
Absolutely. Remember that map of your ideal life we talked about earlier. The ideal project should contribute to that vision in a meaningful way.
Oh, yeah.
It's like each project is a stepping stone on your path towards a larger goal.
Okay, so it's got to be relevant. It's got to be exciting. What else should we be thinking about when choosing a project? What about scope?
That's where setting realistic expectations comes in, as tempting as it might be to dive into this massive, complex project.
Right.
Starting smaller is often the wiser approach.
Okay.
Don't underestimate the power of building momentum through achievable wins.
So don't try to build the next social media empire as your first project. Maybe stick to creating a simple website or designing a logo first.
Exactly. Starting with a more manageable project allows you to build confidence and develop your skills without feeling overwhelmed.
Right.
Plus, you can always scale up your ambitions as you gain experience.
Makes sense. So we've got a project that's exciting. It's relevant to our goals. It's realistically scoped now. Comes the big question.
Uh-oh.
How do we actually find the time for all this learning amidst our already busy lives?
That's a challenge we all face. But it's important to remember that time management is a skill in itself. It's something you can learn and improve upon just like any other skill.
So it's not about magically finding more hours in the day. It's about becoming more intentional with the time we already have.
Exactly. There are countless books, podcasts, apps, you name it, dedicated to helping people master time management.
Right.
The key is to experiment and find a system that works for you.
And to remember that even small pockets of time can be valuable. The source emphasizes those 30-minute blocks. Focused learning, building, and reflecting.
That's right. It's easy to dismiss those short bursts of time.
Yeah.
But they can add up to significant progress over time. Think about it. 30 minutes a day is over 180 hours a year.
Wow. That puts it into perspective. It's about making those moments count. Maybe it's listening to an audiobook on your commute, squeezing in a coding tutorial during your lunch break, or even just taking 15 minutes before bed to jot down your learning reflections.
Exactly. It's all about finding those opportunities and weaving them into your daily routine. And as you become more intentional with your time, you'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish.
Okay, so we're being strategic with our time and maximizing those learning moments, but I think there's another crucial element here, enjoying the process itself.
Oh, for sure.
The source emphasizes that learning shouldn't feel like a chore.
Right.
It should be something we look forward to.
Absolutely. If you're not enjoying the process, you're far less likely to stick with it.
Right.
That's why it's so important to find ways to inject fun and playfulness into your learning.
So it's not about forcing yourself to grind through textbooks and lectures. It's about tapping back into that sense of curiosity and wonder that we all had as kids.
Precisely. Think back to how you learned best as a child. It was probably through experimentation and play.
Yeah. It's about recapturing that mindset.
I remember spending hours building elaborate Lego structures as a kid, completely engrossed in the process. And looking back, I was learning so much about problem solving, spatial reasoning, even storytelling without even realizing it.
Exactly. And we can apply those same principles to adult learning. Don't be afraid to try new things, experiment, and even make mistakes. Mistakes are valuable feedback. They help us course correct and deepen our understanding.
It's about embracing the messiness of the learning process and allowing ourselves to get a little playful. Don't get so caught up in being perfect that you forget to have fun.
I like it.
Now, there's another aspect of this that I think often gets overlooked, the importance of community. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that learning is a solitary pursuit.
Yeah.
But the source suggests otherwise.
Absolutely. Having a community of like-minded individuals can provide incredible support, motivation, and accountability. It's about sharing your struggles, celebrating your wins, and learning from each other's experiences. It's like having a team of cheerleaders and mentors all rolled into one.
Exactly. And in today's world, it's easier than ever to find your tribe. Online communities, forums, social media groups. There are countless ways to connect with people who share your passions.
And it's a reminder that we're not in this alone. We're all on this learning journey together, and we can learn so much from each other.
I agree.
Okay, so we're choosing the right projects, managing our time, effectively embracing the joy of learning, finding our tribe. But there's another layer to this conversation that I think we need to address the context of our rapidly changing world.
Yeah. Are you talking about the impact of technology and the constant evolution of skills?
Exactly. With new technologies emerging at lightning speed, it can be hard to keep up, let alone master the skills that will be relevant in the future.
Right.
How do we future-proof ourselves in this ever-changing landscape?
That's a question that a lot of people are grappling with. And I think the answer lies in shifting our focus from acquiring a fixed set of skills to cultivating a mindset of continuous learning.
So it's not about learning a specific software program or mastering a particular coding language. It's about developing the ability to learn and adapt as the world changes around us.
Precisely. It's about embracing the unknown, being comfortable with discomfort, and constantly seeking out new knowledge and challenges.
And that's where those meta skills we touched on earlier become so crucial, right? Things like critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, and communication.
Exactly. These are the higher order skills that allow us to learn effectively adapt to new situations and thrive in a world of constant change.
Yeah.
They're the skills that machines are least likely to replicate, which makes them all the more valuable in the future job market.
So it's about developing this flexible and adaptable mind that can navigate the complexities of our ever-evolving world. That sounds like a powerful foundation for success, no matter what the future holds.
I think so.
All right, I think our brains are officially full for now.
Mine too.
We've explored so much, choosing projects, managing time, finding joy in learning the power of community, and even preparing for the future.
A lot to process.
I think a short pause to let all this information settle is in order.
Agreed.
We'll be back shortly for the final part of this deep dive, where we'll distill all these insights into actionable strategies you can implement right away, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into accelerating your learning. We've journeyed through the exciting world of project-based learning, explored the potential of AI as a learning partner, and even delved into the psychology of motivation and procrastination.
It's been quite the journey.
It really has, and now it's time to distill all these amazing insights into practical strategies that you can actually use in your own life.
I'm excited for this part.
Me too.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin? There's so much to consider.
Well, let's start by just recapping the core principles we've uncovered. The foundation of this approach, as we've discussed, is project-based learning, learning by doing with clear goals and tangible outcomes.
Right. It's about moving beyond passive consumption and actually building something real. That's where the real learning magic happens. But for someone who's listening who might feel a bit lost, how would you suggest they begin?
The first step is to identify a project that genuinely excites you, something that aligns with your passions and the vision you have for your life. Remember, your project should be a stepping stone on your path towards a larger goal.
Got it. Passion project. Identified. Check what's next.
Then think about how AI can be your secret weapon in this journey. Use it to answer questions when you hit a roadblock, research effectively, and even brainstorm new ideas. It's like having a personalized learning assistant available 24/7.
AI is a learning sidekick. I like the sound of that. What about connecting with other humans? It's easy to feel isolated when you're deep in a learning journey.
Yeah, don't underestimate the power of community. Find your tribe, connect with others who share your interests, and learn from each other's experiences. Whether it's online forums, local meetups, or even just a study buddy, having that support system can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Shared struggles, celebrated wins, and a whole lot of inspiration along the way. Okay, so we've got our project, our AI assistant, and our supportive community. What about the actual learning process itself? Any practical tips for making it stick?
Embrace the power of writing right, to think right, to learn right, to make it a habit to reflect on what you're learning and articulate it in your own words. This will solidify your understanding and might even help others along the way.
Writing to solidify those neural connections, it's a simple but powerful tool. What about staying consistent and motivated? I think that's a struggle for a lot of people, including myself.
One practical tip is to create a dedicated learning schedule instead of squeezing learning into random moments. Block out specific times in your calendar. Treat these learning blocks as non-negotiable appointments.
So it's about being proactive and making learning a priority rather than waiting for those elusive free moments to magically appear.
Exactly. Even if it's just 30 minutes a day, consistency is key. And remember that trick we discussed, the Zygarnik squared effect. Start each learning session with a ridiculously easy task to overcome procrastination and build momentum.
Ah, yes, that little psychological nudge to get the ball rolling. What about those moments when you feel overwhelmed by the sheer scope of what you're trying to learn?
Break down your learning goals into smaller, more manageable chunks instead of feeling intimidated by a massive goal. Focus on making progress one step at a time. Celebrate those small wins and use them as fuel to keep moving forward.
It's like climbing a mountain. You wouldn't try to reach the summit in one giant leap. You'd break it down into smaller, more manageable ascents, celebrating each milestone along the way. It's that same principle applied to learning.
And remember, it's okay to experiment and adjust your approach along the way. What works for one person may not work for another. Pay attention to what resonates with you, what keeps you engaged, and don't be afraid to tweak your methods as needed.
It's about finding your own unique learning rhythm, isn't it? And knowing that it's okay to course correct along the way. What about those moments when you get stuck? Everyone hits those roadblocks, even the most experienced learners.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. Reach out to your community, consult with experts, or even leverage those AI tools to guide your research. There are so many resources available to support you on your learning journey.
It's a reminder that learning doesn't have to be a solitary pursuit. There's a whole world of knowledge and support out there just waiting to be tapped into.
Exactly.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that learning isn't just about speed, it's about intentionality, strategy, and most importantly, finding what works best for you.
It's about cultivating a mindset of continuous learning and embracing the journey, not just the destination.
And realizing that learning is a lifelong adventure and we're all in this together.
I couldn't agree more.
So, to our listener, what will your learning journey look like? What project will you embark on? What knowledge will you unlock? We can't wait to see what you achieve. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into accelerating your learning. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic to explore. Until then, happy learning.